could have somebody better. Absolutely, you could have somebody better. Because my assumption for this afternoon, I have no idea what time it is. It's in that kind of week, really. My assumption for today is that you guys know a lot more than I do about the genuine stuff that we're talking about. So all I'm going to do is patronise you, play a few tunes, try and make you feel a bit better about life in general, talk a bit about the general election, a bit about children's rights and some other stuff, and then finish up in a kind of rallying cry. That's the plan. Does that even remotely sound like it's okay? So let's start off by switching on the clicker. That's all. So let's start off with Lionel Richie. Is that okay? Because I think what we really need to do is recognise that this isn't just the Upstart AGM weekend, guys. This is Glastonbury weekend. So let's have some fireworks, let's have the Upstart AGM, but could we also have the Glastonbury edit, right? And the reason why Lionel's on is not only to get us up and moving and going, but it's also because there's the play dancing, all sing that because Lionel's asking us simply to let the children play. That's the correction. Okay, we're done with that. Okay. And really the other thing, there's more. Please don't exhaust yourself. Yeah, because I'm also going to hit you with another key principle here. And we're heading out to the Caribbean, brothers and sisters. We're going to have Bob Marley and the Wailers, because absolutely what Upstart is about is exactly this. Get up, stand up, stand up for your rights. Get up, stand up. Sorry. Stand up for your rights. Get up, stand up. Don't give up the fight. Sorry. I don't think anybody actually noticed what was happening there. There was music. There was dancing letters. The letters were dancing in time to the music. Have you any idea how long that took? And fundamentally, you all just sat there as if I'd thrown up my PowerPoint slide with 3 bullet points on it. I'm going to give you a second chance. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm looking for a bit more from This is not a presentation. This is just absolute self-indulgence. Okay. Let's stand up for their rights. You get that? There's a connection every so often. And also because Corbyn was at Glastonbury yesterday, I thought I would get political too. And I thought I would review some of the lessons that I felt we could learn from the election. And there's the first one, that close leadership didn't work. Theresa May went to the election, apparently only spoke to 2 of her mates, but they locked up all the other speakers. It was just basically her, and now she's got no pals because she said to sack the people that wrote. Didn't work, did it? Right? Whereas Corbyn, and this is not a political point, this is not Tory better than Labour, because I'm David Cameron after all, it's all my fault. I gave you the referendum in the first place. But basically, right, they were all locked up in the room, the 2 of them, she's got no mates left. Now, she found close leadership didn't work. Corbyn was out there, wasn't he? He was hugging people. Right? He was hugging people, he was showing interest, he was showing care. Other people got on the radio, they even let Diane Abbott go on television. Now that must be the ultimate in both sharing and self-sacrifice. and same in Scotland, closed leadership doesn't work. A leadership which conducts a survey in governance and then doesn't implement any of the things that came back from the actual survey, that's closed leadership. What they've done is press ahead with a whole series of proposals which were decided before that survey, whatever consultation as they quaintly called it, ever took place. So we're coming out at the end of it, we're still looking at new governing bodies, because that'll make a real difference for kids. Eh? I mean, kids are running about in poverty, hoping they'll get improved life chances. Then somebody said, no, we're going to change school governance. And that'll really help. Sorry, let that rant over. But the point I'm trying to make is that closed leadership doesn't work and closed thinking doesn't cut it either. And the idea that all we can do is have a mechanistic response to the needs that children have, rather than address the complexity, I think is both shallow and doomed to failure. And overconfidence is disastrous, isn't it? You know, that was the whole thing. I am going to go to the country, said Mrs. May. And she's a brave woman. She said, I'm going to go to the country. I am going to get a landslide. I want you to give me a landslide. A majority's not enough for me. I want a landslide. I want to annihilate the Labour Party. I hate that Jeremy Corbyn. I don't like him at all. I'm going to wipe them off the political map. And I'll be back in with a majority of 18,000, which is more than the total number of seats in Parliament. And then what happened? Hung Parliament. Right? And again, people are overconfident just now about what's going to work. Let's all touch the hem of the raiment of jolly phonics, and children will be made whole. And let's make sure that we have assessed the making of them whole by giving them a test in primary one, because it's never too early for stress. I think one of the key lessons from Harry Black's research in health was that early stress is one of the most damaging and life-shortening things that happens to Scottish people. And just in case they've got over it by the age of 5, let's slap in national testing. We might camouflage it, we might disguise it so it's not stressful, we might give them all Ritalin, or one of these substances, or whatever happens. But it's that kind of overconfidence that this will somehow work. Because it's really smashed it in England, hasn't it? Changing governance in England, introducing testing every 5 minutes, that's really worked in England. It's really made education work. Fragmenting the system has really made things much easier down there. So there's that overconfidence which we need to question. And there's also that lack of clarity. You know, in the election we weren't sure. I want a mandate so that I can manage Brexit. How are you going to manage Brexit? I'm not telling you. That will stay my hand in the negotiations. Vote for me and trust. And people just don't want that lack of clarity. So people don't want a trite discussion about what constitutes learning and what's likely to work for children. What you want is you want an open discussion which isn't dominated by a closed ideology. We simply want people to listen, to engage, to think around the complexity and give us a bit of clarity about what's likely to make a difference, and stop this overemphasis on what could be worse. You know, the whole thing is, if we don't do this, it'll be terrible. They're doing it in Singapore. We better do a bit of this. You're falling down the PISA league tables. I mean, more people are joining the PISA league tables. Of course, some countries are falling down them. You know, there's actually a real need to. Do you know, can I just say something else about PISA, that we obsess around international standards? Absolute nonsense. Some schools in Scotland will be outscoring some of the top performing nations in pizza. That's a whole different conversation. That's all about the domino theory. There are some schools in Scotland that are actually outperforming some of the top nations in PISA, and some that are falling far behind. It's not a uniform performance. And what we're not asking what is making these successful schools in Scotland successful. We're not asking that question. We're condemning the system on the basis of a blunt average. And that whole lack of clarity, that overemphasis on what could be worse, that sense of reliance and fear over hope, you know, that constant sense that let's invest in protecting ourselves from the possibility of failure rather than engage with the high wire of success. Let's think about these straightforward steps. I'll come back to this shortly. I know I've only got 20 minutes. I will talk really fast after this. Or hope based on very little. You know, that's the kind of diet we've been fed through austerity, using the past to eliminate the future. This constant arcing back to things that were got wrong. We can't go back to the 1970s. We can't go back to all that progressive stuff. We can't go back to the primary memorandum. We can't go back to that commitment that we had at one stage in Scottish education as far back as 1947, where we said that schools should be judged not by the examination results, no matter how impressive, but the extent to which they have filled the years of youth with graciousness, security and hope. Right? When did we stop talking about education in the language of poverty and start talking about it in the language of business? When did we cease to be educators and become accountants? And I think it's important that we ask some of these questions, because that's what essentially Upstart is about. It's about challenging that failure of trust both in our children and our educators. It's responding to that failure of trust in a vision of a future that could be better, fundamentally rooted in a sense of faith rather than a lack of faith in what human beings are and what they might be. And as we put these together, let's also recognise, along with Rihanna, that even in the darkest days, we found love in a hopeless place. That's what we do all the time. So we would actually attract a wave of hope. We recognise it doesn't have to be this way. And we can do things differently. I was hoping you might get a bit more upbeat than that. So here's some substance, right? First thing, children deserve and need a childhood. It is a right. And when are people going to wake up to the fact that regardless of what we do educationally, regardless of what we do in assessment or whatever else, we are denying children a childhood, and we are creating children who are obsessed with themselves, children who are destroyed if their profile on social media doesn't match up to what they aspire to, children overtly sexualised, victims for fashion, all of these things. Is it any wonder we are building a culture of abuse in so many parts of this country? Because actually we are refusing to engage with the concept of what a childhood is. Upstart's not just about what happens in the first 2 years of schooling or not. Upstart is about that idea of standing up for that entitlement to a childhood. And there are so many pressures, not just politically, not just educationally, but commercially and in every other sense, that force children to grow up and become consumers. There is no money to be made in climbing trees unless you pave paradise and open a parking lot and charge people to get in to climb the few trees that are left. You know, that's a right. And that's what Upstart is fundamentally about. And I'm misquoting Ken Robinson there. But in one of Ken Robinson's speeches, what he talks about is, it's as if the most important thing about a child is their date of manufacture. All of our language in education is couched around that curriculum for excellence. The levels are all age-related. You know, you're 5, why can't you write? You know, you're 5, why can't you do this? You're 8 now, you should be able to think for yourself. You know, you're now, the whole thing is as if we were batch manufactured. And we should be going through some kind of test. Sorry, yourself. It's not good enough. We'll move on. I mean, that whole culture around, and again, what we're saying, and I'm not a huge zealot around lots of the stuff that we're talking about today, lots of the stuff that we talk about through Upstart. What I am a zealot about is recognising that children should be able to find their way into learning. And children have that capacity to find their way into learning, and it should be an entitlement. And as we set that, let's just remember that some of the other things, and this isn't about early years, but I love this clip, and I think it just makes so many important points.
Ian's still the highest scoring striker ever to play for Arsenal, and he owes a lot to the man who first taught him to kick a ball, his old school teacher, Sid Picton.
As I haven't seen him for 23, 24 years, so he would now be expecting me to be 6 feet under, I would think. I don't actually think, he probably won't recognise me because he won't believe it's me. Hello, Ian. Long time no see. It's a big one. Right. I'm alive, he says. How you doing? I can't believe that someone said it was dead. As you see, I'm very passionate, and I'm so glad you've done so well with yourself.
He was so supportive all the time. He kind of like had me as his kind of like special guy. I can't believe it. I can't believe it. You know, now I realise how important he was in my life. The first main imposing figure, male figure in my life who was trying to guide me on the right road.
How far we're going back now? 40 years? Yeah. 30 years anyway.
He's 32 years.
Yeah.
Now that may not sound as if it's got much to do with Upstart, but my argument around that is it's time we thought about what really drives attainment. And people have forgotten in the current debate and discussion that care is a strategy for raising attainment, that investing in children is a strategy for raising attainment, that the main area where we can raise attainment is amongst young people who are currently not registering at all in attainment terms. And to get them to engage, it's not about giving them more jolly phonics or even depressed phonics, which I believe is a Nordic development. It's not about giving them plastic phonics or indeed organic phonics, which is my personal preference. Fair trade phonics, I'm keen on them as well. But that whole sense around, it's not about giving them that, it's about investing in children. And also, in investing in them, it's also about recognising that so much of the conversation that we have in education is about how we enable children to fulfil their potential. How do we ever know what a child's potential is unless we give them the opportunity to surprise it? Got Cathy McCullough sitting here today from Children's Parliament, and one of the things that Children's Parliament does is they open up opportunities for children to show what they can do. They structure, create, support the experience, and at the end of it, almost inevitably, and I'm sure Cathy would support this, they are surprised by how far the children take them, as well as being delighted about how far they enable those children to travel. If we don't give children the opportunity to explore, to discover, to pursue creativity, we never know what their potential is, and the danger is that discussion about potential becomes the soft bigotry of low expectations, that we set low numerical standards which are entirely based on a narrow range of skills and knowledge, and we enable children to achieve that because we have no concept of what they can actually do. And it's through experience, it's through art, and it's through education that we discover who we are and who we might become. And to deny children experience in exchange for a closed pathway dominated by what we deem to be of value sells children short, it sells ambition short, and it sells hope short. And we need to think about how we can do that differently. We need to ask these questions. How do we give young people the opportunity to surprise us? And one of the obvious answers is we do it through play. We do it through those things which are less structured or unstructured, where they can bring themselves, what they have, they can explore and be more. And fundamentally, that's what Upstart's about. And if we think about what learners need, of course they need the basic skills of literacy and numeracy. Of course they need these things. But how do they acquire them? I'll show you some kids in a minute, not real ones, but I'll show you some kids in a minute. And one of the problems I was having in the autumn when I was teaching them, primary 2 class in particular, one of the problems I was having when I was teaching them was I couldn't get enough back from them to give them feedback. And the way that I got them to give me that material was to get them to create their own trees. And then I took them out. And I let them see some real trees, and then I took them to the National Gallery of Scotland to the Impressionist exhibition, and you'll see these kids in a minute. And then I said to them, remember your trees. I said, make me a forest. And they made me a forest, and it was a wonderful, beautiful, dynamic moment, which you'll see again in a minute. I'm really building this up, aren't I? And I went through all that, and then I said to them, write to me about your forest. And the next time I went back to work with them, I had more than enough material to feed back to them all. There is no one way to learning. There is no one way to success in education. There is no one true path. We are educators, we're not the freaking Mormons. And we need to face up to that. That if we cast ourselves in the role of educational jihadis, committed to one single path, which leads through national assessment and testing, didacticism, and a prescribed route to learning, we will fail more children than we enable. And it's that concept that we need to address. And as we look further, that's what children need. They need the capacity to think, to learn, to adapt. And actually what we're doing a lot of the time in education is stripping that away from them.
Absolutely.
Children in early years who are prepared to say, I'll take a chance at that, I'll give that a go. And children in S4 saying, will this be in the exam? And if not, what are we doing it for? And by the way, I've got a tutor. Right? That whole culture. And do you know what that culture breeds? It breeds a generation of sat-nav children who can only follow the prescribed path. At best, some of them have a map and they can pursue that, but it denies children a compass. And if you're lost in the woods, a compass is a damn sight more useful to you than a map. We need children who can be navigators, not children who can simply listen to a sat-nav. If we build a culture of getting over hurdles, that's what will enable children to do. What you're talking about in Upstart is opening up that capacity to create and navigate paths. And that has to be both in real and metaphorical terms. And they need that ability to enter into sustained activity, inquiry and all of that. They get that through curiosity, through drive, through intrinsic motivation. I mean, you must have heard the story about the guy who was working at home and kids were outside playing and they were really distracting, and he went down and he said to them, I'm loving the sound of you children playing. And they all went, nice. And he said, I'm going to give you some money for playing outside my house. So they all said, oh, thank you. So it was before child protection had been invented. A lot less talk about safeguarding. So he gave them all money and off they went. Next day, there were more kids outside his house. And they were playing. And there was a racket. And he went down. And he gave them all some more money. And they all went away. The next day, there were hundreds of them. And he went out and he said, I'm sorry, I'm loving the noise. I'm loving the playing, but I've got no money to give you. And one of the kids went, well, that's it, guys. We're not playing anymore. And I went, why? Because they had substituted extrinsic motivation for intrinsic motivation. And we really need to seriously think about if that's what we're doing with a culture of testing. In a weekend, when the Chief Inspector of Ofsted in England said that we need to end a culture of badges and certificates and move to a culture of education, it would be dreadful if Scotland moved further back from that, would it not? Yeah. So we've got all of that stuff to think about. And we need to think about the gifts, not the deficits, right? When we educate children. And again, my same question, how do we know what their gifts are if we deny them the opportunity to explore themselves? And as we do all of that, there's the stuff that we did. It's not exactly classic outdoor stuff. There's my mate, Hal Roberts. There's one of the kids' trees. It's the tree of kindness. That's where you go if you want somebody to do you a good turn. One day where I only had one major incident, and I thought it was a triumph. And the class teacher was looking at me like I was Captain America. And I went to put my arm around him and I said, Andrew, there's something you need to remember. He goes, what's that? I goes, I'm not coming back this afternoon. You know, that whole idea of sustaining it, but giving them the opportunity to do something great. There they are, creating their forest. Now imagine what they were like in a real forest. When I got off the bus with these kids, I said to one of them, I said, have you ever been to the gallery? She went, I've never even been to Edinburgh before. They're from Craig Miller. And I said, you live in Edinburgh? And she goes, no, this Edinburgh. Right. We need to change that, don't we? And partly what Upstart is about is making sure that all children live in this Edinburgh and not that Edinburgh. That we open up that possibility where they can find a different way and a different route. There they are creating their own galleries. Again, it's not classic Upstart stuff, it's not the age Upstart stuff, but it's that commitment to allowing children to explore, to create the opportunity for experience, to monitor it, to regard it, and then to build next steps forward from the child. Because there's the whys for Upstart. Children have rights, including a right to curiosity, discovery and play. All children have a right to that. They have a right not to be deprived of intrinsic motivation and offered the extrinsic. We need to stop asking questions about who we're better than and starting asking questions about who we're good enough for. We need to turn the culture of competition on its head and build a culture of collaboration. We are past the time for anything else. And children also have a right to an identity and an independence. Alan McLean currently doing wonderful work in this. How do children find that identity if they're not allowed to explore themselves? How do children find that independence? And Susan, when she speaks, will talk much more about this, but they have a right to resilience and resourcefulness. They have a right to that progression. And as we do it, let's remember, guys, that the future is not something that we adapt to. It is something we create. We've created a pretty bleak future in many respects for our children. How dare we impose that on them? How dare we fail to recognise that they will solve problems that we've created, Deo volente? And they will not be able to do that unless they have that opportunity to be curious, to explore, to think, and to reflect. And that's a quote from me, because that's the kind of megalomaniac fool that I am. I use my own quotes. And I'm just simply going to finish off on that, because it is the Upstart AGM, and we all need to join together with the New Orleans legend that is Trombone Shorty. Because Trombone Shorty says a number of things in this song, and one of them is he says, you and I, let this be our battle cry. Pick me up if I should fall, because they can never stop us all. And the other key message from Trombone Shorty is, out of this place. We mustn't contain children. Open the world to them, otherwise they'll never learn to deal with it. I'll do that bit again actually. There's Trombone Shorty. This is indeed the Upstart AGM with fireworks. It's time to ask the questions. I hope I've been inspired for some of this. If you want any further information or you want to get the presentation or the tune list, that's my email address. Contact me. If you've got any nothing or Ravens, that's my Twitter tag. And if you did find this one of the greatest and most moving emotional experiences of your entire life, that's my mobile number. So live in hope.
Oh, crikey.